And we're live. Okay. Welcome to Volume 1 of the modern Borecast. I am Joe, aka Impervious Rex. With us tonight is Adam, aka
It's still just Adam.
Gerard, also known as
Vicious Pajura Head.
and Jason, known to the site readers as.
Shallow Magu.
And tonight we are going to be discussing Room 237. Adam, take us away.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're talking about obviously the documentary Room 237. For fans of Stanley Kubrick, you will of course recognize that as the kind of the ultimate finale room of the Shining, where the most dramatic and then supernatural events tend to happen. And we've all seen the film, and we're here to discuss the many theories put forth, and the kind of interesting and the bland, the crazy and the sensible. And I think to kick it off, I'm going to ask just everyone in general, what were your thoughts on the movie? Gerard, what'd you take away the most significant impression?
Well, as soon as the movie starts, it says this film in no way has anything to do with the estate of Stanley Kubrick or the relatives of Stanley Kubrick or the film companies of Stanley Kubrick. And anytime you see that, I think you have to be a little worried about what kind of documentary it is, that you'll get some secondhand, just a bunch of people sitting around just with their own opinions, and they can't use actual footage or they can't do anything. So I was a little nervous about it. But then when I got to seeing the film and how it was just 9 people or 10 people just going through a theory and then talking about it, I was a little more interested, because I was very apprehensive about. I was saying to myself, like, oh, what is this? Just a bunch of random people talking. But they seemed well knowledgeable, and some were very interesting. I thought my interest kind of tailed off a little towards the end, because there's only so many talking heads and so many theories that could be thrown out there before you kind of get a little overwhelmed. But it was enjoyable. My first experience with The Shining was actually the remake, which I think happened in like '97.
Oh, with the guy
The one that Stephen King actually.
The one on
King wanted to
ABC.
do.
Yeah, that was my first encounter with it, and
Well, as you know from watching the documentary, Kubrick's version was a big fuck you to Stephen King. So
Or no, the other way around there. Oh no, right.
Yeah.
Right.
and that was it. That was my first experience with The Shining, and then I think it wasn't until college when you start experimenting with music and movies and weird shit,
sexuality.
that I actually watched The Shining, and I was pretty taken back by it. So it was interesting to hear different theories. I don't think anyone could have found out all of those things by watching it just once.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Although I did, in fact, I figured out all those things by watching it just one time. But I mean, most. Jason, what did you take away? What was your like the driving thing that really stuck in your brain after seeing this film?
So, like, for me, I wanted to come away from it, and I want to look at it as this is a piece of work that's showing the artistry behind the movie is showing all of these crazy crackpot theories all laid out for you, and like, look at this. Look what this piece of art by this genius. Look what it has wrought. It has consumed these people with these. Some are pretty cool, and they take a lot of thought, and they've gone over the movie so many times to make sure that they're internally consistent and stuff. But nonetheless, they're still pretty far-fetched, and I view it more as a movie about this cult of personality, but not a personality. This cult of
Obsession.
this cult of scholarship
Yeah.
that's built up behind this movie, and like these repetitive rewatchings and the crazy things that they figure out through everything. Like the lady who had the map of where everything was, and she could show you how at different times. Like, I would never. Like, it's there's so much dedication that I almost think it's a movie about those people.
You can actually catch those maps at theoverlookhotel.com, which is one of the preeminent Shining fan sites. Not that I've spent a great deal of time there, but they are available for perusal. Joe, your turn. What was your kind of overall broad theme to it?
I noticed the same thing Gerard did, that it did, like, the initial disclaimer was on the screen for quite some time. I found it interesting. it was surprising to me that there were that many theories that these individuals came up with. A lot of them to me, after like the first 3 or 4, really just didn't make much sense. I really think a lot of them were stretching. Um,
Wasn't the
again,
moon landing though? Like they saved the best for last. Like that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I love
really,
how
that's my favorite. Yeah.
it's about the Native Americans, or it's about the Holocaust, or it's about what was the movies about sexuality and demons who are sexually attracted to humans.
I could see that one. I
Favorite.
thought that one was the more plausible one. I thought that one was one of the more plausible ones because it was 79. And they just said he came from this really boring movie, Barry Lyndon, so he wanted to just shove all this weird, creepy, radical, just bizarre stuff in there. So why not throw bizarre, sexual, random?
But here's the thing.
I'm just saying it's more plausible than the Native American.
I found the Native American thing to be one of the most plausible.
I agree. Actually, I did too.
When is a movie just
Not
a movie?
plausible. I don't think plausible is a word we need to use here because none of these things are plausible. Just like none of the events in The Shining are meant to be plausible. It's which theories could be arrived at without an incredible amount of frame by frame analysis, because those kind of ridiculousness, like the guy who saw images in he's like, oh, this is one of the best ones, and like the cloud one, I watched that
I didn't
twice,
see shit.
and I never saw it. I didn't see shit.
That's nuts.
Right,
the
that's the
one
point.
theory that held the most weight is that Shelley Long is creepy as fuck.
And she's got bad teeth.
Yeah.
No, they're not bad. They're just large and spaced apart, kind of significant.
She's an odd chick.
Yeah.
She was wonderful in that movie, though. I will say the whole sexuality thing, I think, is definitely present in the film. I think that's certainly a theme, and the kind of specter of sexual abuse is certainly there.
But
and I thought the guy who, well, don't get me started on the demon thing. I don't even know where demon came into it. I thought this. I mean, okay, maybe we should talk about what our impressions of Kubrick's The Shining are before we had seen the movie, and even after. I mean, my take was this is a very straightforward tale of a lost American soul who, this guy is a bad father because he's a professional failure, and he lets his,
we
his
lost our
kind of
moderator.
his,
Now we're boned.
oh,
Quick, jazz hands.
I still got him. I still got
Jordy.
everybody.
I'm here.
Ed.
I
Joe,
still
you
have
look like
everybody,
you
man.
froze.
jazz hand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
only
Spirit
Joe
Fingers?
was looking weird to me.
Okay, yeah.
Are we-
It's too much bandwidth for Time Warner Cable to deal with. So.
Oh man, Time Warner kills me, dude. They're ruining. It's gotten slower and slower, and they've charged me more. Now they're charging a rental fee for the fucking router.
Yeah.
Can you get DirecTV in New York?
Yes, but it's
Maybe.
um,
I'm gonna
It's not
switch to
on it.
RCN, which I believe they operate out of a bunker under the river, powered by hamsters. But I don't care because it's not Time Warner.
I want FiOS, but it's not available in my slightly ghetto neighborhood.
You gotta move back to Manhattan and go down to Peter Cooper Village to get FiOS.
They just started offering it when we left Chelsea. Well, anyway, all right. You missed it because, Joe, when you froze, I made the most essential and wonderful, brilliant point about the movie, and I don't think I could do it again. So sorry.
Maybe the recording captured it. So
Probably not. It was really it was sublime, and it probably was blinding the internet.
Yeah, I heard it, and I'm weepy because you can't tell, but it's got me.
did the genius of it freeze the internet? Is that what
It
happened?
really,
Can I pose a question?
By all means, yeah.
How many? I think the last time I saw The Shining was maybe 6-7 years ago, and there are some movies when I watch that there are blatant continuity issues or blatant theories that pop through, and maybe because I was just young and I wasn't really paying attention, that when I watched The Shining, I really didn't catch many of the nuances. Like, for example, with the dopey on the door, and then the next scene, there's no dopey on the door. I didn't know if that was continuity or if he meant anything by it.
It's
Usually
a good
now,
point.
even when I watch like a really crappy movie now, the second time I watch it, I'll pick up a continuity error. It could be like Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, and I'll find something that I didn't see the first time. So
Or the
Wait,
seventh.
I'm sorry. Let's just take a time out here. Are you saying, for God and the whole world to witness, that you've seen Fool's Gold more than once?
Yeah, that's sad.
I'm sorry. Your membership in the internet is revoked. Oh my God.
When you watched The Shining the first time, was there any continuity error that you picked up right away? This is for all three that you said like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
No, I was
That
terrified.
you didn't relate to a theory that you just said, oh, continuity issue.
I think like
Or were you even paying attention? Because the first time I watch a movie, I try not to pay attention to those things so it doesn't spoil my viewing.
I think that I always knew that Kubrick was kind of a genius, and so like that movie, even if I did pick up on something like the stickers disappearing, I would assume that he did it for a reason. And I think in the film, in Room 237, that they multiple times mention his IQ and how much of a genius he is, because they want you to believe desperately that anything that might be a continuity issue isn't. Like it was
Yeah,
fully intentional.
I know exactly what you mean.
I
And I
just
kind of
love
buy into it a
this.
little bit. Like he is a crazy, like smart dude, and if he spent 4 years of his life planning how this is going to look on the screen, maybe he did that on purpose, stuff like that on purpose. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there was a heavy tendency in that movie to lump everything onto Kubrick's genius. Like, oh, well, of course, he would have intended to have only 7,000 hairs on this person's head because 7,000. Like, and also I think it's natural because you don't want to spend 700 hours watching a single movie and then come out and say, oh yeah, I watched this, but the director was an asshole. He was an idiot. You want to say I watched a movie that was by one of the greatest authors of our time, and that's why I obsessed over it, not because I was just really into it.
I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I've bought into maybe he's that kind. He was that kind of creator that he obsessed like that. Because I hope there are filmmakers that are like that. Like I dream that there are. That everything on there is like that. And if anybody could be, he could be. So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
I think that there's only so much you could take of listening to people and their theories about certain shots before you kind of like you reach your limit. Like, all right, I get it. People have their theories, next movie to talk about or next topic of conversation. Because I just think it gets watered down, and then I think you get a little jaded towards the end where you just start listening and they get more and more far-fetched. And then you kind of, the first one that you looked at, so the first one was the Native Americans, and you're like, huh, I could see that. But then when you get to like the eighth theory, you're like, oh, like, well, what was the first one about? And now they're talking about all of these. And I just think you get I think if you watch Eyes Wide Shut, can we all agree that that movie made no sense?
I did not
Yes,
care for
yes.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it made sense. I just didn't like it. Yeah.
But I just thought, like, I think it was almost like watching Mulholland Drive. Like, there was no narrative, there was no nothing. But I felt The Shining had some kind of
Oh, I don't
narrative.
know. I thought Mulholland Drive.
I
had a
love Mulholland
very
Drive.
clear
I love it too.
narrative.
Oh, it's one of the most bizarre movies, but it's also one of my favorite movies. I think because it really didn't have a narrative. But if you were to explain to someone what was Mulholland Drive about, I think people would have a very hard time saying, well, it was about, a woman who wanted to go to Hollywood. And then I feel after that sentence, it would kind of just fall apart.
No, it was a woman's fantasy in the moments right before her death. It was a fantasy generated by a woman just as she was committing
But is
suicide.
that what you feel, or is that fact?
Well,
Well,
there's no
it's
fact.
generally-
There is
Yeah,
no
so
fact.
it's
I think it's
determined by the
generally
viewer.
agreed
Well,
upon.
again,
Right,
so
yeah.
my question is, with The Shining, is the ending of the movie and the overall narrative of the movie a fact as to what it's supposed to be about, or so we're now? So in the movie, we were looking at theories of, well, when you zoom in on Danny, the carpet's one way, but when you zoom out, the carpet's another way. If we want to take the movie as a whole, instead of just the 3-minute carpet scene, but instead the whole
basically,
150-minute
does the
movie.
minutia matter? You're saying does the minutia that they pick out matter to the overall structure of the movie?
Yes. What do you guys think of that?
Well, actually, the carpet thing is an interesting point because it actually a little bit undermines what everyone is saying because they say, oh, the carpet is now backwards, which would take from a set dressing perspective, they would literally have to reverse the entire carpet in that shot. However, if you look at the pattern of the carpet, it alternates in those hexagons. So all they would have had to do is move Danny over 18 inches, and he would have been in the exact opposite facing direction. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I watched it carefully, and I thought, oh, no, he could just be in the next square over, which
Yeah,
faces,
he could be like down diagonally, and yeah.
right, exactly, and
So
so I
he's
thought
a
that was
kid
kind
that
of
moves
weird.
around when he's playing. Like, it's not like he's in the same square. He's playing with trucks and shit. So
And also, they kind of want to give you the sense of uncertainty that things do shift. And I definitely, in the endless hallway scenes where he enters one hallway and comes out on a different floor, that I've noticed, and that is legit because I think it's very obvious that he wanted to give the impression this hotel messes with you, and that's cool. I'm with that.
The carpet thing was something that I had noticed, and I always assumed he did on purpose. For what reason, I don't know, but I always bought, or I noticed that in my like maybe second or third viewing of the movie that I've always thought that Kubrick did it on purpose.
It's certainly something you would have on a large budget movie. You would have, the kind of movie that would have Jack Nicholson. You would have a guy on set who would tell you, oh, by the way, in the last take, Danny was sitting, 2 feet to the left, so make sure that's right. I mean, they don't move the camera in between shots unless it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't there people that work on movies just to find faults like that? Yet still, if you read the latest MB post about Inception, it still happens. And there's supposed to be like people just dedicated to finding faults, yet it still happens.
It's like crowdsourcing. You get 1 million people who are obsessed about it doing it. It gets done. You can't hire 2 people to do that work. Like that. Right. That's going to man hours.
They'll get most of things, but they're never going to, get it all.
So there's where I worked, we produce a Western television show like set in the 1800s, and it's a big budget series, and they have people that are doing continuity things. They catch people with watches, mobile phones, but a day or two before it was supposed to go on air, they caught there's an airplane going across the sky. So when you're that drilled into looking for minutia, sometimes it's a forest for the tree situation. You miss the obvious things. So
did the minutia of The Shining, did all those little things make the picture what it was? Theory-wise, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, did all those tiny little carpet, Native Americans, Holocaust, was all that supposed to equal something bigger?
I think they all cherry-picked. They all cherry-picked the minutia that suited their theory.
Sure. Exactly.
And they say that that's the theme behind the general plot that we see. So I think any given theory is not going to rely on all the minutia.
And I do kind of wanted. I would be curious to hear what each of those, I'm not going to use air quotes now, but those experts on this film, if each of them, what they thought of the other's theory. Like, did the Native American theory guy think, oh, that guy who talked about the Holocaust theory, he's a fucking idiot, right? Not, what I'm saying? It's definitely Native American.
They have to, because if you devote that much time to coming up with this theory, you have to be assured of its correctness, and so anyone else is clearly off their rocker.
You stick multiple fanatics in a room, you get a bloodbath.
that would be awesome. And I think that's why they didn't actually give you any screen time with it. Like, you didn't see any of their faces because they wanted the theories, not the people espousing them, to be the characters.
Good point.
Also, I have a feeling that many of them were probably a little unusual looking. I'm imagining like guys who like live in like dungeon offices with stacks of paper up behind them, kind of like cigarette stained like beards and stuff.
Possibly very long fingernails.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, exactly. Like, really.
What I find funny is that in 1980, The Shining was up for a Razzie.
Yeah, so was Space Odyssey, which, by the way, I'm sorry, a vastly better movie than The Shining. I don't care what anyone says. Of course,
both left me feeling very disturbed.
Yes.
For very different reasons. Very different reasons.
I will say I liked The Shining a lot better the first time I saw it. I mean, I was firmly in the camp of the 2001 viewers who watched the end of it and thought, what? But on a repeated viewing, I really just think that movie is just phenomenal. Whereas I think The Shining is excellent, but it didn't impact me quite in the same way.
I think I read Space Odyssey at age 12. And then I was like, yeah, let's go get the movie. I want to see the movie version of this. And, of course, they're, shades of each other. And it blew my mind. And I didn't really care for it at the time, but I've rewatched it in my adulthood and love it. But
I do think that had I been, reviewing movies at the time either of these films came out, I probably would have completely missed the boat. Certainly on The Shining, I would have said, oh, it's a very, kind of a very moody, atmospheric, dark psychological murder story, and it's great. And I would have said, I don't understand why there needs to be a psychic in it, but it seemed really cool. But I would have completely missed the larger themes.
In my opinion, there's only, I would say, 2 movies in the last 6 or 7 years that have affected me in a way where I constantly go back and watch and try to find things, and it's No Country for Old Men and The Social Network. I think you could watch those movies so many times and get so many theories and so many things out of it, especially The Social Network.
Which
Really?
I think
I've
you
never
can
been
watch.
watching that in my
Yeah,
life.
you can watch
Never
this
It's a
again.
very straightforward.
This from
Mark
Mr. Fool's
Zuckerberg.
Gold.
No, but I
Fucking
just mean
some
like
twins
theory
and that's
of
it.
camera work, theory of camera work, things like
Really?
that.
You think in terms of the
I
direction?
think in terms of directing, you can look at the Social Network as certain shots that he took, certain editing choices that he did. Like if you notice when you watch the Social Network, there's very few times where, as soon as a person is done talking, David Fincher lets the scene go on before the next person starts talking. It's very like as the second that the person stops talking, the next person starts. And if you notice in every scene, there's always other people around, which I think kind of resembles how, like, when you're on Facebook, there's always so many people around you that you're not really interacting with. Again, you can make a theory about probably any movie, or you can make a Room 237 based on The Social Network. But I would say that movie and No Country for Old Men were two movies that really would give me a forum to make a movie such as Room 237 in today's cinema.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find 4 more experts to go over the Social Network with
Probably,
for 2
but
hours.
you know what? There's weirder people out there than me. So
I can
And
get pretty
Casey
funky.
Yeah.
So speaking of theories, maybe we should just do a quick recap of all the theories that were espoused in the film.
Can we remember them all?
I
I
wrote
have
down
the first one.
most of them.
No,
So-
don't do it from notes. No notes.
Oh,
Just
come
go
on, no
to the big boys
notes.
table. And once we're done, you can see if we got them all. All right, let's. All right,
Okay.
we
And
talked
don't
about the
look at
Native
your
Americans.
notes.
We talked. Get notes. Get out of here.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
Native Americans. What else? Holocaust.
Holocaust.
Circles.
What is this circles one? I don't remember.
Remember when they walk around? They're always walking around in circles. Like when he spills the drink on himself and he goes to the bathroom, he walked.
Oh,
in
that
a
was
circle.
the map lady, right?
The map
lady
lady.
who said
The
that.
map
And
lady.
also, I followed that segment where she's talking about how he's like going around in the bathroom. Now the bathroom is where the bar should be. I was like,
It didn't
"Nuh-uh."
work for me.
No,
Yeah, I was like,
it's
that's wrong.
right behind the bar, you idiot. Like, I'm sure she's done more analysis than me, but
The way they
Um,
presented it, though, failed because I had the same reaction.
yeah, I was like, this looks perfectly reasonable. Same thing with the cloud image. All right, so we had Holocaust. All right, I'll give you circles. We'll call it the map lady, right? We got Holocaust.
I like circles better.
Okay, we got Native American. We got circle. What's the other? Oh, moon landing.
The past. That one of the guys' theories was this movie's about the past because
Sexualness.
if you when everyone introduced their pet theory, there was clearly a line where they would say this movie is about X, and one of the people, I think probably theory 6, 7, or 8, it was this movie is about the past.
Was that the guy who did the? I really like the play it backwards over each other, like
Yes.
the images
Oh,
superimposed.
yeah, that would have been really fun to go see.
Yeah, that I was like, that is pretty sweet.
Although I wonder when they did that, did he say what they did with the audio? Because I would like to see it like with the audio going forward, but just the images overlaid both ways. Because if they did the audio both ways, you wouldn't be able to understand
Yeah.
the movie, and that would.
That'd be
be really
worthless.
boring.
I'd
Yeah.
say.
All right, so
Minotaurs.
which actually
Oh, that was a
that
bizarre
was
one.
but that
That
was
was-
dead on right. That was totally right. The skier
What?
picture was fucking weird, but when you think about the maze and him being Minotaur-esque, in that particular scene, I totally see that.
The sexual revolution one, where the weird sexual objects being placed subliminally.
Which I'm sorry, that's not what subliminal means. When he's like, "Oh, see how this file turns into a giant erection?" No, it doesn't, you idiot. I'm looking right at it. It's a file folder. I can tell exactly what it is. Like
that was
maybe in your
a reach.
1970 like Betamax copy, it looked like a dildo, but not in mine.
With a jillion pixels.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? And that one. All right, wait, where did we get lost on one? Did we say the moon landing? We said the moon landing, right?
No, I think we're probably saving that for last, but the moon landing.
Oh, 2 times 3 times 7 is 42. So I guess 42 was the Holocaust one.
Oh yeah, that was a Holocaust. one.
right.
And the
the
German
typewriter
typewriter that changes color.
Right, which actually the color changing, that is crazy because he definitely, that had to have been intentional.
The one I felt was the most of an error was the one where the chair is in the background, and then they cut to. I thought it was Shelley Duvall. Isn't that what
Yeah.
her name was? Oh.
What did we say, Shelley?
Oh,
Did you
right.
say Shelley Long?
Wow. Yeah, Shelley Duvall.
It was
That
Shelley
was
Duvall.
slightly different. Although I loved her in.
And then you go back
what
in
was
the
that movie with the Girl Scouts, the Brownies movie?
Beverly Hills Troop. No.
Yes,
Troop Beverly Hills.
Hills.
Wasn't she in Annie Hall? She plays Woody Allen's lover in Annie Hall, right?
That's
No.
Diane Keaton.
No. In Annie Hall, she's one of the girls that she dates. She smokes weed in bed with him.
No, that's Mariel Hemingway. Oh, no.
No way.
It is.
I think
It's
Shelley Duvall's in that movie, too, yeah.
Yes.
But Mariel Hemingway's in, what, Manhattan?
She's in Manhattan.
Right.
Yeah.
Where
Annie Hall,
she's
she
like,
had to be like 10 years old at the time. or
Oh,
something.
man, was she
Yeah.
pretty. Joe, can we just stop for a second before we go any further? And what the fuck is wrong with your hand? What is that? What happened?
Wank and Claw.
Yeah, wanking claw. No, I re-aggravated an old wiffle ball injury.
Right.
So, staying up all night in Philadelphia and drinking, and then the next morning going out to play wiffle ball on the street and continuing to drink, wearing flip-flops. When you fall off the sidewalk and you're 6'3", it's a long way down, and especially when your bones are made of cotton candy, you end up in ER for a couple hours.
Oh my god, so is it broken? You broke it?
No, I just re-aggravated. Apparently, I have developed what is called a bone cyst in my wrist.
I love that band.
I've broken my wrist 3 times now, so they are fragile, as they say. So
Oh, you're like the bad guy in Unbreakable.
exactly, I
Totally.
am Mr. Glass.
Oh shit, by the way, if you haven't seen Unbreakable yet, viewer, spoiler alert. Mr. Glass is the bad guy.
The baddest.
Yeah.
I just watched Pulp Fiction last night because HBO Go now has AirPlay support, so you can get video and audio.
Yep.
And I was browsing through their stuff, and Pulp Fiction, I haven't seen in a couple years. Damn, that's a good movie.
Oh,
Will
that's great.
HBO
Yeah.
Go ever be on Apple TV, you think?
That is the rumor, but who knows? I'm sure,
we
if
have
their
the-
stock continues to shit the bed, they'll have to pull out some stops, so maybe.
Yeah, you gotta wonder why that's not more accessible. Like, I would sign up and pay HBO directly if they would just let me purchase that service.
I'll tell you why. And for a quick aside, so I've been to a couple conferences for work where the co-president of HBO, whose name I forget at the moment, was the guy who spearheaded HBO Go. And people have always asked me, wouldn't you rather have people pay you $20 a month to access HBO Go? The problem is it's bundled in with your cable service. You can only get it if you subscribe to
Right,
HBO.
sure. And I'm sure they have a contract with cable
with
companies.
the distributors, the cable
With
companies.
all the distributors, and they have a lot of muscle. And they've basically said that we're only going to continue on with this if you need, if you pay us for HBO, then you have access to HBO Go. So all the cable companies want their cut.
Mm.
So, and the president has basically said, if you don't get HBO or you don't pay for HBO, we don't want your money. In so many words.
It seems like a bad idea to tie yourself to I feel like cable as a distribution network it's dying. I don't know. They gotta change, don't they? I don't.
I mean, it's
They-
over time, probably.
They have to, but they don't want to, because this has been the model for 60 years at this point in time,
Sure.
and they don't want to change. They're very ensconced in how things work, and they want it to continue to be that way. But I think give it 5 years when you have a la carte programming, and it'll be a very different landscape.
Although it would be insane if HBO just said, once all their current contracts expire, if they just said, hell with it, we're just going online only. And HBO is the best content. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. They have the best content of any channel on any net tier of television. Like, on average, like if you put together-
Premium content.
No, of any channel, I would say when you average things like, not just their back catalog, but their present catalog, like Game of Thrones and whatever they have, going on. It's the highest caliber programming.
I don't know.
People would pay for that,
They would pay, but you saying it's the best, I think that's arguable.
Because in terms of original programming, I don't know.
I will say
There's
that
people that-
recently.
FX, AMC, Showtime, they all compete. I mean, they're
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know that Showtime is on that same level, even with like Weeds. But
Christ, how is Weed still on TV?
I
I
hate
thought
that
it
show.
was the last season. Isn't it the last season?
Yeah, but it's what, 10 at this point in time?
No, it's like 9.
That show died a long time ago.
I love
Yeah.
weed, and I can't watch that show.
Um, I don't know that I would say that FX competes with HBO. Like I don't know that they would actually be as good as HBO, but they do have some excellent shows. And same thing with AMC. Although The Walking Dead is a pile of shit. I'm sorry.
Always or just currently?
No, actually,
Don't spoil it because I haven't watched this.
I'm behind a season. But season 1 was bad. It was definitely just bad television. Season 2 picked up significantly, but it's still not what I would classify as excellent narrative. The budget is great. Like the production values have been top notch, but I found that the narrative itself is extremely lacking. I think the dialogue is weak, and I think that just in general, I don't like any of the characters except for Norman Reedus, who, by the way, I stood in line behind at the Apple Store.
Wow.
Was he greasy?
You know, he a little bit.
I think he just has like a thin sheen of grease on him at all times.
I peed next to Ron Glass.
Oh.
Claim to fame.
San Diego Comic-Con 2005, baby.
I'm a big fan of Shepherd Book.
They were doing a Firefly panel, and
Yeah, you were at that?
I was
Did you
at
see
that. The Firefly
Oh,
panel.
man.
San
I
Diego
watched it.
2005.
I watched it online and I cried.
Shit.
Oh shit! What happened?
I just
No
lost the
power.
light. I gotta flick it back on.
They cut the power, man. How could they cut
Are
the
we
power?
going back to 237?
They're
Oh,
on
right.
Almost, okay.
There's time for digressions. In fact, right now I need to get another beer. So
Actually, I'm gonna refill as well. Can we take a?
Will do.
this is live.
All right, we're back.
What are you drinking?
Me?
Yeah.
It's a Cabernet.
Oh.
It's called Gladiator.
Oh shit.
It's called Minotaur.
Minotaur, yeah. All right, let's jump back in. Oh, by the way, I want to point out that when I stood in line behind Norman Reedus at the Apple Store, it was prior to The Walking Dead, and so nobody could remember his name because all they kept doing, everyone was pointing, whispering, like, wasn't he the guy from Boondock Saints? Wasn't that him?
Talk about a movie that does not hold up with repeated viewings.
It's entertaining still. You know,
It's
it doesn't hold up?
entertaining, but it's the first time I saw it when I was 22. I thought it was the best movie I've ever seen in my entire
Yeah,
life.
absolute badass, yeah.
But then you watch it again, and the one dude just says "motherfucker" constantly, and then Ron Jeremy shows up as like a fat Elvis, and
Really, it doesn't hold?
and the dude from Head of the Class is in it.
And Doc from Fraggle Rock is in it.
What?
Where's
Why didn't that get a reaction? I thought it would get a reaction.
Who the fuck is Doc?
no one
From
cares
Fraggle
about
Rock.
Fraggle Rock? You care about Fraggle Rock. No one else does.
Like the guy who voiced Doc? Was Doc
No,
Fraggle?
the old guy who owned Sprocket.
His name was Doc?
On the show, his name was Doc.
What was his... He was 100 years old when Fraggle Rock came out. How is he still alive for Boondock?
I don't know, but he
He's a
looked good.
lich.
He looked good. He looked the same.
Oh, no.
He consumed the soul of Sprocket, and he will live another 60 years.
Jerry Parks. Jerry Parks.
Boondock Saints 3.
The return of Jerry Parks.
Holy God, wasn't Boondock Saints 2 the worst thing you've ever seen?
Never watched it. Couldn't even bring myself
it
to
the same
Did you watch
actor?
Did you watch the documentary about it?
Oh, about him spiraling out of control and becoming
Yeah.
a complete lunatic and thinking he was the greatest thing in the world? Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched... no, I watched a trailer for it, but I couldn't possibly care less about him.
It was an interesting premise, but it's exactly what you think it would be.
Yeah.
Some
It
chump
seems
who
like-
wrote a screenplay and thought he was
Right.
hot shit, and then
I wrote a hit play!
yeah,
Was it the same actors in Boondock Saints 2?
Yeah, except the guy, Sean Patrick Flannery, he must have immediately before worried that he was going to look old because he must have Botox injections all around his face because it was like, it was like there was no expression. There was like a little stream of drool
He
coming
looked
out.
like Cher.
It was bad. It was bad. It was not good. Yeah, and the girl from Dexter was in it. She
the one that was in Rambo.
Yes. Julie
Dude, how
Benz.
fucking insane was that movie?
That was awesome.
I went to go see it with somebody, and sitting in front of us was, I guess, two girls babysitting because it was maybe two 18-year-olds and then a couple 8-year-olds, and they bailed out after they started throwing babies in fires.
And ripping people's throats out, which is rad.
Yeah, dude, fucking Rambo is gonna punch your head off.
Yeah, I like that. That movie's great because it escalates the violence to an insane degree, and then when you think it can't go any further, Rambo hijacks a truck with a 50 caliber machine gun and just starts laying waste to like an entire army that for no reason charges directly at him. It's just the greatest thing ever.
Eventually, he'll run out of bullets.
No, not in Rambo's world. He's forging new bullets as he goes with his dick. Did you guys see the Expendables too? Or both of them, 1 and 2?
I've seen
Never saw
neither.
any of them.
Oh man, they were such wasted opportunities because those guys, they still have box office power. Why wouldn't you get a professional to write and direct it instead of having Sly? My brain is toxic because of the steroids I eat.
Don't forget his protein pudding that he was selling for a while.
Remember when he got busted in like Australia for having like vampire age-defying steroids in his suitcase?
He's
it was
disturbingly old.
Yeah, it was like fucking Agent. He has creepy forearms. Next time he shows up on something, and he has very large, extremely veiny forearms.
Well, he's coming to a theater near you starring in Bullet to the Head.
Oh, with fucking Khal Drago or whatever.
Yeah, Jason Momoa.
Yeah, did you ever see his drunk interview on one of the UFCs? Where he's wearing a leather vest and a leather bowler hat?
No.
And he's just growing out.
He was supposed to be in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's out now.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he just in like a week ago.
Yeah, but I think it's not real. Plus, he was powerful in that Conan movie.
Drax the Destroyer, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect.
Except he can't act. And when you make him speak English...
He's a giant green guy who stabs things. Who cares?
We want him for his beautiful man body.
I'll tell you what, make him speak in Dothraki, and I'm sold.
I don't think Drax speaks in Dothraki.
You can subtitle it. I don't care what it sounds like.
Secretly, if the spoken language they used was Dothraki, but they didn't say it was.
Right.
The Guardians of the Galaxy movie, yeah.
Exactly. All right, let's jump into let's talk about one of the wackier theories. You guys want to talk about the moon one?
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
also,
what did you?
Can I preface that by saying I want that sweater that Danny had?
Oh, Apollo 1.
The Apollo? Yeah.
I would wear that to work every day.
Do you think that the guy, the sex guy, the one who said everything was sexual, do you think he was just afraid to say that he truly believed that the Apollo rocket on Danny's sweater was meant to be a penis? Like I think that was just too risque for him. He wasn't willing to like commit that far.
Maybe he did say it and it just hit the cutting room floor because
that guy believes it.
Because maybe he was like licking his lips and rubbing his fingers together while he was doing it.
Oh, okay. So, did you guys know that that there were rumors that Kubrick had done the moon landing? Had you heard that before?
I had not.
I may have heard it on Joe Rogan's podcast where they talk about the fake moon landing probably 3 times a week. But the Kubrick angle, that was definitely the first time that it's been like someone came out and just said like that I can remember. Kubrick did it, and he had like a guilty complex about it, so he had to include it in the movie. Which, look, whether or not he did it, the fact that I have a guilty conscience, and so I have to make a large budget film to like express my guilt. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, he was writing in his journal for a long time, but that wasn't getting much of an audience. So.
Right. His live journal wasn't there yet, so.
I don't know. I actually found the evidence behind it to be one of the more credible or at least consistent in the film. I don't know.
But why would you put that? Why would you even put hints if you don't want anyone to know that the moon landing was fake? Why would you put hints in a movie and says, "Hey, maybe you'll see something"? I don't know.
Maybe I'm going to
show you something that. I mean, it just makes no sense. Like, why would you, if you don't want anyone to know that you made a film about the moon landing, why would you put hints in a movie that says I may or may not have filmed something about the moon landing?
Although who's to say he didn't want it known? Maybe he did want people to know, and he just said, okay, somebody smart's going to see this, and they're going to see what I'm trying to say, but the government is stupid, they'll never notice.
Government is stupid.
To be clear, I said I thought that there was credible evidence. I believe we've been to the moon, unequivocally. Need to say that. But there may have been a faked moon landing once upon a time that Stanley Kubrick was involved in. I
Yeah,
don't know.
wasn't there a documentary that came out last year called like Apollo 12? That was
Apollo
about
13.
Oh,
how
they
we
made fun
went
of
to
it.
the moon.
It was like a mockumentary thing.
With aliens.
Who
Well,
saw that?
no. Wait, I saw no Apollo 18 is what I saw. It was terrible.
Was that the one with Tom Hanks?
No, that was 13.
Oh, I fucking hated that
Apollo
movie.
47.
So I don't
What?
care.
That was great.
No, it wasn't. I hate space.
We're gonna have to get into that in detail later on. You know, though, it is an interesting thing. I mean, I'm sure there has to be a documentary out there, or at least some dedicated fan site regarding this moon theory because Kubrick died, in his sleep of a heart attack at age 70. Pretty young, and maybe there are theories that somebody the government it took them 10 years, but after they watched The Shining enough times, they realized he let the secret out and they poisoned him in his sleep.
Did any of you read that screenplay that he wrote about Napoleon?
No.
Oh, there was a screenplay that he wrote titled Napoleon, and it was the whole screenplay about Napoleon that was going to be made into a movie, but he never got around to it, and I don't think anyone wants to try it. But the screenplay is actually online, the whole screenplay to the movie.
How is it?
It starts out with him as a kid. I read the beginning and the end. I kind of just didn't even look at the middle.
Nothing happens.
He's born in the beginning, and then at the end, he's actually on Elba and he dies. So.
And the entire middle is about his micro penis.
Yeah.
And then Michael Bay's directing it, and there's Transformers.
Now you're talking. As long as there are no alien Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Jesus.
It's just sad.
You mean Megan Fox's April O'Neil?
Which, hey,
I'm okay with it.
Yellow jumpsuit for the win.
Who's going to play Jason? No, what was the guy's name?
Casey
Jones.
Casey Jones, that's right.
Jason
He wore the
Momoa.
Jason mask. He wore the Jason mask.
Hockey
yes, he
mask.
did. Well, obviously, Elias Koteas is going to reprise his role from the original trilogy.
And who's gonna play Splinter?
Every time I see that dude, I'm like, that's Casey Jones.
Yeah,
That's all he
man,
ever
me
is to me.
too.
Didn't he get rid of Teenage and now it's just Mutant Ninja Turtles, or now it's just
Actually,
Turtles?
it was just going to be Ninja Turtles because they were supposed to be from space. But apparently now he's been referring to it in public as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So maybe he's vowed to, common sense or reasonability.
I like the one with Diesel. I think that was
Kevin
the
Nash.
third one. Kevin Nash.
Super Shredder.
Super Shredder, that's right.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Super Shredder was
Kevin Nash was Super
You're
Shredder.
kidding. That was number 2, by the way. That was The Secret of Use.
Bebop and Bebop and
Bebop
Rocksteady.
Rocksteady. Yeah.
No, they weren't in the movies. It was Toka and Razar.
I thought they were in 2. What? Oh,
Nah, man, they
you're
were called
man.
Toka and Razar. Yeah,
Right.
It was a wolf and a turtle, whereas Bebop and Rocksteady were a
warthog.
rhino
Warthog
and a
and a
warthog.
rhino, yeah.
The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series was really good. I will say that. I really enjoyed it. It was
Yeah.
It
awesome.
was fun.
Yeah. And also the Kevin Eastman comic books were fantastic.
And that was, those were parodies of Frank Miller's Daredevil. Like
Right,
the Foot
absolutely.
Clan
Yep.
was, a parody of The Hand, and it was just supposed to be a takeoff of Miller's real grim and gritty New York City that he had kind of given birth to that style, which really went on into was kind of the testing ground for the art style of Dark Knight Returns. But not the sequel, The Dark Knight Strikes Back, whatever the fuck it's called, because that is horrible.
Wait,
You like it?
there was another one of those? No, he's not talking about the movie. You mean the comics, right?
The
Yeah,
comics, yeah,
definitely.
he bowed to pressure maybe 15 years later and put out a sequel, which was just a horrific mess. It's at your local library. Pick it up and read it.
Probably not. Although I do want to reread The Dark Knight Returns because I remember loving that when I read it, but I was very young, and so I want to go through it again. So I do remember loving that.
It was like all the cool ideas that you thought of with your friends when you bullshitted about that stuff, hanging out, is what I felt like. Like, oh my god, this is like all of our what ifs.
Yeah. Superman
know.
versus Batman. I knew it.
Yeah.
I read a lot of comic books. So I didn't really have many friends.
Look, I have to get this in before we move back two, whichever way this discussion is going to go. Superman beats Batman every time.
Every time. I don't care what kind of robot suit he has or kryptonite knife. I don't care. Superman wins. He can move
Fucking
at the speed of
incinerates
light.
him from space while he's sleeping.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's
Agreed.
There's
Agreed.
no middle ground here. I don't care if Superman is middle-aged and he's really let himself go. No.
Nothing
That's who
Robin
he
can
is.
do.
He is the winner.
Here's
That's
the other
what
question
Superman
about
is.
Superman. Does Superman, let's say he just fucking has a super, he just goes, he goes and
Don't go there. Don't.
crazy at In-N-Out Burger, right?
Oh.
Eats like,
I thought that was going a different direction.
no. And just eats burgers nonstop for a year, doesn't do anything. And now he's super fatso. Is he still as powerful?
Of course he is. His muscles and his body mass have no effect. Like, let's say he puts on 300 pounds of fat.
Maybe it's
He can
super
lift
fat.
a building, you know?
Super fat.
He can certainly carry it well.
Did they ever give Superman a sidekick?
He has all his various pets. There's
Or is the JLA his sidekick? Like Batman had Robin. Was there Superman and
no, he has Jimmy Olsen,
Powder
and,
Boy?
he has what Crypto the Super Dog. There's
Really lame ass.
Listen, in the
There's
Silver Age, there
Beppo
were a
the
lot of
Super Monkey.
bizarre. There was also, I'm pretty sure there were several like super kids who palled around with him. Like there was like a super boy who followed him around for a while, and like
numerous Superboys.
yeah.
Adam, are you still doing D&D?
Yes.
Where do you do it?
This is well, you know, I mean, I do it in my bedroom right now. So no, we go to different guys' houses, and like once a month or so we do this.
In New York?
Western style.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been there. I'm not currently
Mostly-
playing, but I'm a former active role player with the Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm
Is
actually
it mostly-
looking for
Is it mostly Manhattan or Brooklyn?
Brooklyn. Most of the guys in Brooklyn. Yeah. And actually, we're all in Brooklyn. Yeah.
During the week?
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing that like these guys are actually, despite their D&D habits, they're actually much cooler than I am. So weekend nights are not available for them. They're going to like openings and like clubs and things. Whereas I'm
You
yeah.
go to work and then you come home. Isn't that what you
Yeah.
do?
You watch movies until you're too drunk to continue, and you repeat the next day. That's what Friday and Saturday means. Now they're pretty cool. So yeah, it's usually weeknights, and that's what we do. But I'm in the market for an additional group because it's they're busy. Like they have a lot of work to do it, and like their jobs are odd hours. So it's like the last time we played actually this week, but we hadn't played before that for 2 months. And
Right.
after that kind of time, you forget where the story is, and you're not really terribly invested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Also, they all like to get like wasted while we're playing. So by about and we started like 8, like super late. We started like last time we started at 9 o'clock, so we didn't finish till 1 a.m. And this is a weeknight. I get up at 6, so I was dying.
Damn.
But I would love like a Friday night game, like once a month. Like okay, every the third Friday of every month is D&D night.
Dude, set it up. I'm set it up. I'll join.
All right, well, get this Yahoo in. I'm pointing you, Joe.
Wait, you can play via Google Plus.
Maybe.
What we really need is a Microsoft Surface action, so you can like set up a table, and they could read the dice for you and like just extrapolate automatically. Okay, you hit, you don't hit, you do.
I think there are really sophisticated apps available for Google Hangout that try to replicate that kind of thing, like communal dice rolling apps and map things. There's
There would
dorks
have
are
to be.
very industrious.
Well,
would
I gotta
have to
say,
be.
I'm shocked on the fact that Wizards of the Coast, who now who bought out TSR and now runs Dungeons and Dragons, they've been through like a new rules revision. Like version 4 is their new rules. They're terrible. They're universally despised, and they're overly complicated and yet overly simplistic at the same time. But they're
Doesn't
right now.
everybody have superpowers now? Isn't that the gimmick?
It's just stupid because like your level 1 spells are 400 words pressed into one little card where you have like, okay, I get a +2 versus this kind of attack plus this, and I get in this situation I get this, and that generates for 3 turns I get this, and it's like you have no idea what's going on. You also don't trust the people you're playing with to understand their powers. So like we have one guy in our group who is constantly cheating. Because he's always like, all right, so I get a +2, +4, and then a +7 times 3. It's like, whoa, there's no multiplying. There's no multiplying. He's like, but I get it. Look, it says it. There's 800 words. So I'm not going to read it and be like, oh, really?
Fine, you do get those 9 million points.
Yeah, so
That's
he just
why.
ends up
That's why I quit D&D for Magic, because everything was on the card. Everything was, and it was.
Yeah,
10
I really
words.
miss playing Magic, and I love the video game version, like the
Xbox
PC games.
version.
Like I love them. The
Yeah, those are very
Xbox ones
cool.
I didn't like because like having to point and click with a controller is balls.
It's
It's not-
awesome
it's
on the
not very
iPad.
intuitive.
It's the very
Yes.
tactile. That's perfect. That's
Fantastic.
exactly what
I
you
agree.
need. Yeah.
Yeah. What I hated though about Magic and what drove me away was that my set that I had worked years to craft, and like I had every unlimited card made, and I was super proud of it. I had great decks, and then it's like, oh, by the way, we changed it now, so only the most recent 2 expansion packs are valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that killed it for me.
I have $1,000 worth of cards sitting here that I can't even use, and their value went to the toilet. So I have
You can
crate
use them
of
in like
cards
really.
worth nothing.
You can use them in really rare formats, but I mean, as they need a business model, they realize like we can't. They had to do something to be able to move past those first 5 or 6 years, and they're bigger.
Yeah.
They sell more cards now than ever. As of like 2 years ago, the game was as big as it's ever been. So
Yeah,
Well, they
but
also have, like,
they did it by sacrificing I think the original, the people that were there from the beginning. I mean, I started playing right when the dark hit, and I was through the card drought of Revised, and then through the shitty expansion of Fallen Empires.
oh, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
And then you had nothing until Ice Age, but I was still able to play and build interesting decks. But then you're right, once they started okay, well now it's Ice Age and the previous 2 sets, anything prior is no good. Well then,
Yeah.
you have to. They forced your hand to continue to buy cards, and
Yeah.
the fact that they're cranking out 3 sets a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I would
Yeah,
have,
they do 3 a year.
I would have kept buying those cards, except don't make the cards I already have worthless. That's all I cared about. Like I was fine playing against guys who had cards from like fucking beta, who brought these cards out like they had Black Lotuses and shit. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I could never afford one of those because it's $600, but I don't mind playing against it. That's just the deal. You were in it before me, so you're senior to me. That I'm cool with that. But also respect that I am senior to some douchebag who started at Ice Age. So I have cool cards that you don't have access to. They're finite. They're not printing them anymore. If you want them, let's trade for them. That was a perfectly sustainable economy. But they said, nah, fuck you. You got all this shit? Great. Burn it, because it's worth nothing. Yeah, that killed me. So not that I'm
But to
bitter
release
about
new sets
that,
from a game design point though, if they didn't cycle cards out, they would have to have power ramp constantly. Otherwise, why buy the new cards? So your old cards would eventually be worthless, and the game would be so distorted because they'd have to ramp up the power of everything and scale mana curves. This way, they just like bring out new cards that sort of do the similar mechanics. It forces a new metagame. I think it keeps the game fresher. I don't know. I don't play because I can't afford it. I wish I could.
I will.
Right,
I
I
will.
like how you finished that sentence.
Yeah.
I've played. So after I went through a phase for like a good 3 years where that was like my main focus, and then I stopped. Went back a couple times. 2 years ago, I played at Comic-Con in New York, 2012. Spent like a good day and a half playing. It was great. I had great fun in tournaments. We had some really good booster drafts. This past year, 2012, was a completely different thing. If anyone's going to Comic-Con, so in 2011 in the Javits Center, they had it upstairs in kind of the main. So in the main area, there's a concession area where you have to go upstairs. They cleared all that out. That was the magic area. This year, they moved it to Artist Alley, which was a good 15-minute walk or 10-minute walk from the main show floor. Much more sparsely attended, and I just found that with the sets that were released this year, very difficult to really just plug in and get playing right away. I think that the barrier to entry is.
Uh-oh.
Where's
Did we lose
Joe?
Richard Garfield's original vision was you get a deck
We
of
lost
cards,
like
you
a
can play this
30
game
second.
anywhere.
We lost a chunk of your stuff, dude.
No, I understand what you're saying though. You're absolutely right, and because they add like it was like things like trample or stuff like they added like where it just says like one word, and you're like, what does transverse mean? I don't know. Not the power of it.
These all sound like old men. The game has to evolve. Like I swear, if I had unlimited funds and could just throw myself into that metagame and play a lot, I would. Like it's a great game that's constantly evolving, but it comes at the cost of its consumers, the customer, but in terms of money. But it's a great
I think
game.
you're right. Maybe I'm annoyed that there was a point in time where I knew what every card was, and I could look at it upside down from another
And I
person.
know exactly what it
Couldn't
did.
you look at that also as the evolution of couldn't you look at that as also the evolution of like fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter, and how everyone, we haven't played them in a while, but there's people that are still playing them since like 15 years ago. So what's the point of even trying to get back online because the learning curve is so steep?
It's true.
Well, you are going to get crushed by a 12-year-old.
I rented Tekken Tournament 2. I played it once, and I was like, you know what? Why? It's just, there's no way I can learn 90 moves in around 5 minutes, and it's going to take me around 3 years just to master one character's moveset, and not only that, I'd have to keep playing it for years on end, and we're not 16 anymore, where right after school we come home and we play video games.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I second that. But yeah, you have to buy that with the intent to play it with people who also suck.
Right, and even those games are evolving just as much. And even with the fact that when you play PS3 or you have Xbox, you have friends online. But how often are you all together? Playing games online together without having to schedule it like weeks in advance. But I don't know, maybe now I'm just getting into a conversation of that's the
Joe's on all the time, so he's always there.
But I think I'm getting into more
I've not been lately. Lately, I've actually had to go to work and do shit. But
I don't know. The burglars stole my Xbox or my PlayStation. So.
But also, I think PlayStation is trying to fix that by letting you download those games from the PSN back from 1997.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Looking forward to the PS4. Yeah.
You ain't playing shit.
No, you're going to be able to stream it.
I thought the reason that some stuff couldn't be ported was because of it took advantage of weird specific hardware things in either the PS2 or the PS1 that would be impossible to emulate with the PS3, and that's why the PS4 is going to abandon a bunch of stuff, is because there's going to be parts needed from the PS3 specifically that aren't going to be there in the PS4.
Well, I'll worry about it.
What kind of corporate shill are you? You're like, oh, the PS4 is great, even though you can't play any of your old games.
Oh, I would never
buy new Magic sets.
I didn't buy a PS3 because I was irate that I couldn't play every PS2 game I own on it, so I'd never bought one. I'm not going to buy a PS4.
If you got the launch one, the original, the fat one, those are still, you can still play. I mean, I have a copy of Resident Evil 4 that I will never play again, but if I want to, I can.
Listen, I've got 5 more minutes before I have a commitment to watch The Godfather with my wife, who has never seen it.
What?
Yep.
Can we join in on
those,
that? Can I watch too, please?
Yeah, actually, I just want to watch her and see what she thinks about it, because that'll determine whether the marriage can proceed.
Baby notwithstanding, Godfather appreciation determines how this.
No, actually, I mean, she'll enjoy it. It's a movie that it's really hard not to like. But there are other movies though where I haven't shown them to her because I'm afraid she won't like them, and I'm afraid it will destroy the relationship. Like
Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, I don't expect her to like that because that's a niche kind of crowd,
Right? You like that?
Yeah. Have you guys seen
I almost have enough Big Trouble in Little China T-shirts that I could wear one every day of the week.
Wow, that's great.
That's I don't know.
Have you seen the Gangnam Style, like Perry with Lopan style?
I have not.
I have not.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, and they also have like Mako, the guy, or not? Is it Mako, the guy who plays David Lopan? He's in it. Like, it's pretty funny. It's worth a view.
We have to do a Harlem Shake Google Plus.
No, we don't.
I don't even know what that is. So
We're not doing it.
All right, so let's if you want, I mean, you guys can continue talking, but let's you want to do like a wrap up thoughts or something?
Yeah, I think this is a good point to cut it. I think we can all kind of interject our pet theories about it, and then try and come to a consensus or not, and then call it a night.
Okay.
So, Jason, go first.
All right. I found it's vastly interesting as a film, like Room 237 as a film. It's definitely worth anybody's time just because it is about these kooks that they're weird people who spend hundreds and hundreds of hours rewatching the same film and pausing every frame and laying out how they think the maps don't work. Like it's about the kooky people, and it's also fun, like brain candy to throw the theories around in your own head and see which ones stick to you or not. But I don't know. I definitely enjoyed it. It's very cool.
Gerard, go ahead.
I enjoyed some theories more than others. Um, it was interesting for a couple of minutes, and then I just kind of got so many different theories that I kind of just lost my way and lost track. But I wonder if, like, Kubrick were alive, if he ever would agree to do like sit-downs discussing his films and whether or not he would even divulge anything. But it was very interesting. I really didn't know what to expect. I think it was one of the few movies where I went into it completely blind as opposed to just knowing the title. But by the time I watched it, it was good. I kind of lost track towards the end, but it was an interesting watch. I'm glad we did this.
Adam, go ahead.
I don't think I would recommend this to anyone. I mean, if you're a tremendous fan of The Shining, you already know all this stuff, and you probably would find the theories interesting and fun. But
Jesus.
other than that, I mean, I don't think.
Ghost.
Like I would not recommend this to like friends who are into documentaries in general. I thought it was a well done movie, but I didn't find it that interesting. I didn't really think I was looking for a movie that would really show me things that I thought I'd scratch my head and say, oh. And aside from the Native American thing, I really didn't see anything that struck me as legit. Although everything was interesting, and the way they supported stuff was very fascinating. What bothered me the most though is they were all so wrong. They missed the fact that clearly The Shining is about the battle between microwave popcorn and stovetop popcorn. I mean, that is obviously the crux of the. No, it is a good movie, and it does some neat things. I did find the little jab at the end where the guy, you can hear his kid in the background, and like he starts talking about how he also is recently out of work, and he has a young son at home, and he's been spending a lot of his time watching The Shining. That was kind of a fun little meta joke. But by and large, an interesting movie, a neat movie, but not the kind of thing you're like, oh, you guys, you should really see this movie. So watch it if you feel like it, if you're into documentaries, and certainly if you love The Shining.
It could have been done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
It could have been. I guess I'll wrap this up. I agree mostly with Adam. Is that I would hesitate to recommend this to people. I was actually a little disappointed as I was watching it. I was waiting for kind of a wow factor, oh my god moment. Like that is a really interesting theory that no one else has come up with, and that makes me want to watch The Shining again right now.
Right, to see these things. Yeah.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. No. I thought, okay, you have your theories. Maybe sometimes a cigar is a cigar. Other times a can of cornstarch with an Indian on it is indicative of the slaughter of Native Americans. I don't know.
Do you think that this movie was meant to be a movie that would be up for like a best documentary feature in the Oscars, or do you think it was strictly made just for the 36 fanboys that are obsessed with The Shining?
Okay, no, I think.
Did the director have any other ulterior motive to make this other than just to be? I mean, what direction is there really in the movie? But
I really think that the key to enjoying it really is to step back from it and just see it's about these crazy people. And I don't know, what kept me interested throughout it was to think about the people that were saying these things on the screen. I really wasn't, and I don't think it's about The Shining. I don't think it's about trying to show you interesting theories about The Shining. I think it's a much more subtle view of these crazy people and how they are so passionate about it, and that's what kept me interested.
So really the movie is not about The Shining whatsoever, but it's actually about
popcorn.
These popcorn, and also these crackpots that have devoted X amount of time probably more time than is healthy to watching this movie over and over again.
Yeah,
That's
I think
what I thought.
and that could be a
Let's hope
large
that,
part of why they don't show them to you is because they don't want to make them an object of ridicule. It's about obsession. It's about dedication to a singular kind of undertaking.
Which maybe is what the Shining's about anyway. It's about writing. Well, it's not about writing, but you know, what's his face? Goes there for a vacation, goes to write, and then slowly descends into madness. Just like these people who have been watching this movie, slowly descend into their madness and
Right.
their own personal pet theories about
Right.
minotaurs and sexual deviancy.
Didn't the one guy say that he felt like that? I thought one of the people who had a theory actually mentioned that, like he felt like Kubrick was messing with him from 50 years ago or whatever, beyond the
Yeah.
grave kind of thing. I thought.
Well, there's one line in the movie where one of the guys early on, I think it's the guy with the kid in the background, he says, if you watch something enough times, its meaning changes for you. And I think that's the key to the whole movie is that, it's about what happens to you as you watch a movie over and over again, or as you read a book over and over again. Any of those things.
Maybe it turns into a funhouse version of itself after a while.
Could be you bend its meaning to be what you want it to be.
I guess that's every movie, though.
And
If you
there
watch
we
it
are.
78 times.
Yeah, like
All
I'm sure
right, well-
Star Wars is something
Yeah, I
different
think-
to all of us. I'm sorry.
I think this was a great start for hopefully something we can continue doing.
We should have it like where every person picks a new movie like once a month.
All right. Well, I mean, we can definitely figure that out. It doesn't need to be a planning session at the end of this, but I think for everyone involved, for Adam, Gerard, Jason, Brandon is absent, amongst some of our other contributors. For myself, thank you for watching. This has been the Modern Borecast, the first volume, Volume 1. Maybe we'll bring you volume 2. Who knows?
All right.
All right.
Later, all.
Later.
It's a wrap.